Tyrone Hassel III was brought to the world on August 23, 1995 by his parents, LaShonda Jones and Tyrone Hassel Jr. in Benton Harbor, Michigan. He was one of many siblings as he had 7 brothers and 2 sisters. Now, from the reports I've read, Tyrone was a pretty stellar guy. He was part of the Tigers marching band. He was in Junior ROTC and the Kappa League. He went to Grand Valley State University in Allendale, Michigan, where he studied mechanical engineering. And the list of achievements he's made range from graduating with honors back in 2013 to being enlisted in the U.S. Army, where he was awarded the Army Achievement Medal, the German Army Proficiency Badge, and completed a 9-month rotation in South Korea. On October 31st, 2017, he was promoted to Sergeant Hassel. Outside of being a hardworking young man, he enjoyed the simple things of life, spending time with his family and friends, playing pool, basketball, and loving on his dogs. And I've said this before, but anyone who can love on and care for animals is always good in my book. He was described to be someone who loved life, loved good energy around him, and just enjoyed laughing, having a good time. During his time in the Army, he met a young lady named Camilla Martin, and the two of them fell in love. They got married in 2016 and brought another Tyrone into the world, little Tyrone Hassel IV, and their little humble family resided in the state of Georgia. Although he lived in Georgia, he would find his way back home to Michigan for the holidays. And New Year's Eve of 2018 was no different. Only this time, it would be his last time. It was Monday night, December 31st, 2018, approximately 11 p.m., when Tyrone was on his way back to his father's house to bring his wife some food. And as he was leaving his father's house, he gets ambushed by someone and they shoot him multiple times. And his wife, Camilla, was calling out to his father to let him know, oh my God, Tyrone got shot. The authorities were called. They came to the scene to find Tyrone suffering outside from multiple gunshot wounds, including one to the head. The medics arrived and rushed 23-year-old Tyrone's body to a nearby hospital, where it was confirmed that he was no longer alive. At the time, Tyrone's father was confused. He said he couldn't understand why or how something like this could happen because Tyrone had no enemies. He said everyone who knew Tyrone loved him. So, of course, an investigation into a U.S. Army sergeant's homicide was ensued. Well, fast forward to almost 2 whole months later, in February 2019, Tyrone's beloved wife, 22-year-old Camilla, was being charged in his death. And not only her, but her lover was as well. Yes, Camilla was having an affair with a 24-year-old man named Jeremy Kuehler. But the turn of events doesn't stop there, because not only was Camilla having an affair with Jeremy, Jeremy was also a married man. But Camilla wasn't his only mistress. He was also sleeping with another woman named Tanya Butler on the side, and she's the one who testified against the diabolical little couple at court. She testified that Jeremy told her about his plans to take Tyrone's life, which was being set up by Camilla. Tanya said, quote, I told him I thought it was a stupid idea. I felt like it was stupid because he has a child. And then with him having a wife, it was like, that's very dumb on y'all's part. But he said, well, this is the way it's going to be. We're going to carry out the plan. End quote. Apparently, the plot began as they were all stationed in Korea, including Jeremy. He was also in the Army. And Camilla and Jeremy were conspiring via social media app Snapchat. It's said that the motive behind the plot to have her husband's life taken was Tyrone's $400,000 Army pension. And Camilla promised to give her lover some of the money she would have received after Tyrone's death. And what's sick is Camilla was living with her in-laws for almost 2 weeks after Tyrone's death, pretending to be this grieving widow, knowing she was the one responsible for his demise. Tyrone's father said, quote, I felt like their marriage was great. I've got a good marriage, and I felt like they were doing just as good as me, if not better. I've never seen them argue, end quote. Both Camilla and Jeremy pleaded not guilty and were facing first-degree homicide charges, with Jeremy being charged with felony firearm counts as well. I found it odd that Camilla pleaded not guilty when she signed a statement admitting to plotting her husband's homicide for months so she could continue her relationship with her married lover. She said she was unhappy in her marriage, but didn't want to go through with a divorce because she wouldn't have any access to his money. She also stated she and Jeremy used the Snapchat app WhatsApp to communicate their plans because they were both under the impression that the messages would be untraceable. Because if you didn't know, on Snapchat, the messages disappear if you don't save them after sending them. Now, although there were people who admitted to knowing about Camilla and Jeremy's affair, and to Tanya admitting that Jeremy told her what he was going to do, Jeremy's attorney said he shouldn't be facing first-degree homicide charges because, quote-unquote, no one saw him do it. It could have been anybody. Well, fast forward on Thursday, July 18th, 2019, in Berrien County Trial Court, after 3 days of testimony, Camilla was found guilty of first-degree premeditated homicide and conspiracy to commit homicide. According to MLive.com, due to the conviction, Camilla was given a statutory minimum of a life sentence without a chance for parole. In September of 2019, Jeremy admitted to shooting Tyrone to death, and he was handed a minimum sentence of 65 years with a maximum sentence of 90 years and only being eligible for parole once he turns 90 years old. Jeremy told the courts, quote, "I want to apologize to the family again sincerely. I was a fool for just taking her words and not really looking to see who he was. I also want to apologize to the Army. It was the best thing that happened to me. It was stupid, and that's not me at all. I was raised right. I just had issues with my own demons. I know we all do. But what she was telling me, I opened up to her, and she played on it. I shouldn't have opened up to her. I was a fool for trusting her." End quote. What a way to take accountability, right? Now, at some point, Tyrone's father had a one-on-one conversation with Jeremy. He said he didn't know how he found the strength to speak with him, but he did. And as soon as he sat down with Jeremy, the first thing Jeremy did was apologize. He said Jeremy was like, "I'm so sorry." And Tyrone Jr., the father, said that Jeremy told him it wasn't the money that he was motivated by. It was love. He said Jeremy told him he made 6 attempts at taking Tyrone III's life. And so he asked Jeremy, how would you and Camilla would have even been able to trust each other at all after this was all said and done? And Jeremy told him he thought about that, kind of, but then he didn't. He said he was just focused on the relationship with Camilla and the family of 5 children that she promised him. He said on that New Year's Eve night, what really fueled him to take Tyrone's life was anger. He wanted to see Camilla that night, but she didn't want to see him. And he got mad because he felt like, how you don't want to see me, but you got me out here running around doing this and doing that for you. He was so mad, he decided that night was going to be the night. And that's why he shot Tyrone so many times. Tyrone's dad said he doesn't forgive Jeremy, but he did feel like God was working on him. Camilla was described as emotionless throughout this entire ordeal, as if she didn't even care that they took a beloved man away from his son, his parents, his friends, his siblings, his entire family. This is just a condensed version of this story. There's much more details you can find about this story all over in places like A&E, YouTube, 2020, stuff like that to dig deeper, but this is one of the main reasons why I'm against people cheating on their spouses or significant others. Shit really gets nasty and dangerous. You risk things like STDs and unwanted pregnancies, but not only that, you risk this right here. This, homicide, plots, and things of that nature. And unfortunately, Camilla had dollar signs in her eyes, so she was going to find a way to off her husband regardless. However, Jeremy, he said he tried 6 times before he was successful at finally taking Tyrone's life, all in the name of love. Sure, he was going to get paid, but did you hear what he said? He wasn't looking to the money. He wanted his family of 5 children with Camilla that she promised him. And the reason he shot so many times was because he was angry that Camilla didn't want to see him. Are you kidding me? Let me end this by saying this. Rest in peace, Sergeant Tyrone Hassel III. May your spirit live on with your son, your family, and your loved ones forever. Thank you for your service in this country. I send my deepest, sincerest condolences to every and anyone that was graced with your presence. You'll never be forgotten.